The PETM podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PETM and join the What You Drinking Club today for as little as $1 a month. Get your free koozie, y'all, just for $1 a month there. Best part is every cent in 2017 is donated to sponsoring drivers. So join the PETM posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show is brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up month level. It's Ashley J. Stang, Jeffrey Whitler, Lori Sutton, Colby McClam. Welcome to the PETM Posse Colby, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Marion Levesque, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Mick Rose, and Stephen Jr. the Third.
Be somebody.
All right. Welcome, y'all!
Hey!
That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 89. It's Friday, March 10th, 2017. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Walsh, joining the PETM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Right over here. Been waiting all week to do this thing. Now we're doing it.
Friday night. It's Friday night. Let's make something happen.
Be somebody.
Be somebody. It is Friday. There's Sydney Lett just singing her thing, going crazy. She's had to delay, I think, her album a little bit, but we are just with bated breath awaiting this thing, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. I was talking to her the other day, and it was like, all right, well, we'll get you on when it makes sense. I mean, we were planning for this week, but it's fine.
Yeah.
We want to do it when it makes most sense for her. We know she's a huge NASCAR fan.
Absolutely.
So,
well, check out the shirt, dude. How about this thing?
Kicking the Tires.
Kicking the Tires.
Jerry Jordan.
Jerry Jordan. So our buddies over at Kicking the Tires, he told us it was the end of the tweet up at Atlanta, and he said, "Is anybody extra large?" And maybe I'm giving away my fatness here, but I was like, "I am," and I was like, "Just if you want to give it to somebody else, I ain't pining for a shirt necessarily." And he said, "How about this? If I give you the shirt, you got to tweet it out." So I went to Milwaukee this week. I was at a brewery, so I took a picture of myself with this shirt on at a brewery in Milwaukee. So hopefully I
think I saw that picture.
It got well traveled a little bit. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do one better. I'll wear it right here on the PETM podcast. So y'all be sure to visit Kicking the Tires, KICKIN, thetires.com? .net. Sorry, kickingthetires.net. They got a bunch of cool stuff going on, and it's great to meet those guys. They were so much fun at the tweet up, along with everybody else. Real cool.
Yeah, and Jerry's Twitter handle is @JerryJordan_KTT for Kicking the Tires.
Very nice. Sherwin, what you drinking today?
Well, I have a beer over here. We'll save that for just in a minute here. But
right.
I've got you happen to have some Jim Beam.
Uh-huh.
And you happen to have some Coca-Cola, so
those things kind of
made an interesting combination of the two that has a little bit of the frozen H2O in it.
Cheers.
Pretty tasty.
Sounds good.
How about yourself?
I've got a Miller Lite and one of the same drinks right there. Since it was sitting there, I've been gone all week and walk in, and I've got almost full handle and a couple Cokes ready, so I said, perfect. But now what's the story on this other thing you got there? I'm not sure.
Well, I forgot. Woo. So, a few weeks ago when we had the Super Bowl party here at the PETM studio, I had purchased some beer that was very specific.
Yeah.
And it was a throwback or a callback, if you will, to Matty Ice being on Katie Nolan's video show tour when they were trying to launch Garbage Time on FS1.
Okay.
And she was getting all of her guests to drink beer and make it, and trying to figure out how to make it specific to who the guest was.
Right.
So Matt Ryan, the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, was on the show, and she gave him a Natty Ice that she had adjusted to Matty Ice.
Attaway.
So that is the throwback. The tie-in
the callback
to this,
there,
yeah, the callback. The tie-in to this week is that the 37 car for JTG Darty, driven by Mr. Chris Buescher, is fully sponsored by Barstool.com and Natural Light.
Attaboy.
And the paint scheme looks bad to the bone.
Oh, man.
It is so cool. The lettering is in like pink. The car is silver. the car looks bitchin'. It's awesome.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see that. I might buy me some natural light.
I may buy the die-cast. It's that cool.
Die-cast. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, good call. So I keep saying I was in Milwaukee this week for work. Got a couple stories from there that might be fun to throw out there before we get too deep here.
Sure.
So call me what you will, but I drink tea in the morning, and I usually try to drink this non-caffeinated, like peppermint tea or some sort of mint tea that just sort of, I like the hot drink, but something about too much caffeine will just get me all wired and all that. So up there in our Milwaukee office, they had a box of tea. And so I put my tea bag in there, and I put the water in there, and I'm steeping it a little bit, start taking a couple drinks. I start reading the box, and it said peppermint and natural laxative tea.
Oh, my goodness.
And I went, uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
I said, well, in for penny, in for pound.
Right.
So,
Let me get a couple gallons of this
yeah,
stuff.
I drank the whole thing. I was like, whatever. I mean, how much, this is like homeopathic stuff, right? It's not going to do nothing. I don't care. So come about 2 o'clock, and Sherwin, I cared.
A Dumb and Dumber style date with Mary Swanson.
With about the same face that he had on in there. So
just holding like you needed handles.
I needed handles.
Feet
buddy.
out.
I mean, we
need
try to not go too deep into that story, but whoo, buddy, I tell you what, it said natural laxative and it wasn't lying.
It was true. Was that Truth in Advertising?
Yeah. Later on in the week, I get a text at 3:30 a.m. Or 2:30 a.m. Central Time, and it's from a coworker. And I told him later, I said, "Man, I'm glad that I'm on like your drunk text list. Like, now we're buddies.
It means you're cool.
Yeah, now we're buddies.
Now that you're like a director of stuff,
right? So I thought, I'm cool now. Like I'm one of the guys or whatever. So. But what he texted me was the perfect drunk text. He goes, dude, that new Miranda Lambert album is awesome. You got to listen. It's just beautiful.
Sounds like he was in a very zen space. Just kind of super chill.
Could be that his beer was not the only.
I'm listening to some really hot Texas chick sing some country music.
Oh man! So among other things that might or might not have happened in Milwaukee, those are my Milwaukee stories, and we'll see what the next one brings.
Boy, I wish I had like a Roswell, Georgia story. I don't have jack diddly doo doo from this week.
Well, I'll tell you what. 89 car PETM 89. You know what that means? Next week is another decade milestone for us. Number 90.
That's ridiculous.
I don't even know what to think about that. But
I mean, it's.
But for today, it's 89. And you won't believe who drove the 89 car. Well, you will believe because I already sent you the show notes. But you won't believe, the PETM posse won't believe, who has driven the 89 car more than anyone else.
Well, let me hold you up there just a second. I'm going to interrupt you, ADD style.
Go for it.
Remember, like, the country music class of 89? It was like 5 guys that just dominated 90s country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Alan Jackson, chief among them.
Yeah, I think Randy Travis was in there.
Clint Black.
Yeah.
John Michael Montgomery. And Garth Brooks.
And Garth. Yeah. And Garth. I was like, when are we getting to Garth?
Yeah, when are we getting to? Yeah. Okay,
so
go ahead with the 89 car.
32 races in the 89 car. Mr. Morgan Shepherd himself is the most run in the 89.
Captain Roller Skates.
Well, so here's what's crazy. So I saw this tweet, and I'm sorry I retweeted it, but I can't remember who sent it. But they said, what they did was they said, okay, here is what these drivers, let me see how to say it.
Oh, my God, I saw that.
Yeah. Based on these drivers' current age, if they raced at Morgan Shepherd's current age, this is the year that they'd be racing in. So, for example, Jimmy Johnson, if Jimmy Johnson drove in 2050, the year 2050, that would be like Morgan Shepherd racing now.
You mean like 33 years from now?
Right. In 2050. Like,
the one that
I survived to 2050, it's going to be a miracle.
The one that I saw that freaked me out the most was Ned Jarrett and like retiring in 2004. And
2008.
Like, what in the
by the way,
hell are you even
Ned Jarrett driving in 2008.
What in the hell are you even talking about? And you know what that really speaks to, though? that speaks to how early he ended his career. Even 50 wins at age 33, and he retires. And has a Hall of Fame son.
Dale Earnhardt Senior, driving in 2027.
Right, a cool 26 years after his death.
And a decade from now.
Yeah,
Good my gosh, Eric Jones. Driving
2004. I mean, like 2104.
2071. 2071. Red Byron, like from the 1920s, y'all, driving in 1990. I mean, some of this stuff. Buddy Baker, who we've talked about on the show a few times.
Red Byron drove Raymond Parks' car to a championship.
Oh, that's a great full circle there. Buddy Baker driving this year.
Oh, shut the hell up.
You know what I mean? Ricky Rudd driving in 2032.
This is ridiculous.
Neil Bonnet, we've talked about on the show, who also drove he did. Neil Castles drove the 89 car. That was another one who did. But
We're so weird about Ricky Rudd is he was like one of the first 18, 19-year-old guys to get in a car. Like he was one of the first teenagers to show up and be in a cup car.
Yeah. Now there's a few more of these, but I'll end it on this. Bobby Allison driving in 2013.
Goodness.
Yeah. Having shook his hand and I mean all that. Holy mackerel. So that those stats right there, I don't know what to say, other than
I don't even know how to process that.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is,
ageless wonder. Morgan Shepherd, 32 races in the 89 car. Few other people. Neil Castles, 27 races. Buck Baker had 25 races. He had 2 wins in it. Joe Lee Johnson, who, believe it or not, we've actually talked about on the show before. 14 races with 1 win in the 89 car. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So some cool folks, but really, I mean, the Morgan Shepherd thing tied in so perfectly with PETM 89, and I was going to read off some of those stats anyway, but the fact that he had driven it the most was like, well, this just fell in my lap.
Excuse me.
I think it's about time to tear it down, Sherwin.
Tearing it down?
Let's do it.
We have our noisemaker stuff.
We do. It's back. I know. It feels like forever, and then it'll feel like we've had it forever, and then we'll miss it again. That's just the way it goes.
It is a never-ending cycle.
We had Atlanta Motor Speedway. What
happened last weekend? Did we?
Don't even ask. There was a lot of beer that got drank. I'll tell you that.
Oh my goodness.
Jeffrey Whitler was there. Jeffrey Whitler, y'all, he's like the tailgating brother you always wanted.
He doesn't suck at tailgating.
He just brings it. He brings his thing.
He's got the energy. So here's the thing that I thought, and we'll just talk. This is like human psychology stuff here, just fun stuff. You would be amazed at how much just adding a third person to your party changes the energy.
Yeah.
Because you and I mean, we've known each other so long. Yeah, we have a great time going to races, hanging out, watching football, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But introducing that third personality basically means that there's no stale period. There's no period of like an hour and a half where you and I are both buried in our phones, not talking to each other, which happens.
Yeah.
But with Jeffrey there, it's like it was nonstop. I mean, it was chatter, 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 drink, drink, eat, drink, drink, chatter, drink. You know what I mean?
Oh, Freud
go to
a
race.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and not only that, there's a way I feel like that we sort of, at least in our group, sort of judge if people are fun to hang out with, and it's the guys who just sort of chill, lay back, and then bring something into the story. Like not trying to dominate the whole thing, not trying to show off or anything like that. They just feel right in and, seamless transition.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying that he's just like us in terms of personality, because I think the reason why you and I get along so well is our personalities are quite different. Our interests are very much the same.
Sure.
Jeffrey fit in like we didn't know there was a puzzle piece missing.
Yeah, like that third point of the triangle that we didn't know was a triangle.
He came in and was like, oh, we are good.
Yeah.
Like the Venn diagram was complete.
So might as well tell a couple stories from Atlanta as we're doing stories. So
hell yeah.
If y'all are official sponsors and you got the show notes, you might see that there's a note there that says Barf Guy.
Barf Guy.
Barf Guy. So we're standing there, I believe it was Saturday night, and this group of fellas walk up. One of them's got a Georgia Tech 1990s starter jacket on.
Oh, I remember that jacket.
Yeah, so he's starting to walk by. I mean, they're just walking by us. And of course, me and Sherman, we look over and, hey, Georgia Tech, what's up, buddy? So they turn around, and you can tell they've been drinking like we've been drinking. Everybody's been drinking there.
All day.
So they're like, hey, what's happening? Woo! And we're just kind of, doing our thing or whatever. And we're talking with them, and there's three of them, and the buddy's standing all the way to the right. He's like, I'll be right back, guys. And he walks over to the back of my truck and just proceeds to unload whatever he had been.
Yarble-garfed.
Not just drinking, but eating, too. Like, this thing was like Campbell Soup chunky, buddy.
Yeah. He made like a 2-foot radius, like danger, like an infection zone.
And walked right back. All right, yeah. And they're like, did you just... He's like, yeah, I barfed. Like, wow, okay. Carry on.
We went over there, we're like, man, that was... We need to back the truck up so we don't step in this.
And then I proceeded to step in it, which, I slipped in it one time. Didn't fall, but...
remember that time Clark... Who
that was...
fell in Clark's...
Oh, puddle. I don't know.
Is it David?
Probably. This is going way old school with that one. So another story that happened, it was the last day, and it was Sunday evening after the race. Most of the people around us had gotten up and left or whatever. We always stay the last night just, we want to be able to drink and all that and not have to worry about driving back. And they always do these, DUI checkpoints and all that. I don't want to get into nothing of
that noise.
Yeah, exactly. So this cop car pulls up, and there's not a whole lot of people around, so there's only so many campsites. And this cop car pulls up, and the cop is chill as chill gets, right? He pulls up, he's got his arm out the window, and he turns to us, and for whatever reason, I'm kind of the guy who's out front or whatever, and he goes, hey, man, you know this fella in the back? And he pulls up a little bit so that we can see the back seat. There's a dude in the back that is thrashing. Like, he's going mental, insane. He's beating on the windows. He's yelling at the cop. Every cuss word in the book, every your mama this and what he's done to that person's mama, including the cop and everybody. And the cop's just, like I said, just chill. Y'all know this fella in the back? And so the first thing I do is look back at our campsite. I go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm 7. So we're all accounted for.
Right. All present and
I've been
accounted
drinking, I was like,
all right, it's not Sherwin. We're good.
Yeah. And I go, sorry, bud, not our guy. He goes, man, I'm just trying to find out this guy's family. I don't want to deal with him in the clink or nothing because it's just going to be a long night.
Trying to dump him out. Yeah, that's what the cops are like there. It's like they went from Ghostbusters taking people down to can somebody please take this drunk off my hands?
I don't want this responsibility right now. I said, hey, good luck, brother. And he said, appreciate it, man. Just kind of gives me that tip of the hat and slowly drives off while the dude in the back is just still trying to tear the car
window out.
Yeah, trying to tear the car apart from the inside. Like, what in the world?
Do you know who I am?
So, yeah, there's Cop Car and there's Barf Guy.
Cop Car and Barf Guy.
Cop Car and Barf Guy right there.
And now you know why we can't. Now you know the rest of the story,
right? I mean,
and why we camp in the pop-up tent campground.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, if you go to the hotel afterwards, you ain't gonna get no.
You're not gonna
Barf
get
Guy or no cop car with drunk dude in the back of it. And,
no way.
Yeah, and the funny part is it wasn't like, oh no, that's not our guy. It was like, oh crap, let me count.
Because we didn't know. Could have been one of our guys.
Is everybody counted for? Okay, we're all here. Yeah. Screw that. We're good. But racing, we could talk about racing at some point in this podcast,
Is this a racing podcast?
We call it racing.
We talked about the 89 car a little bit.
We talked about the 89 car, yeah. Atlanta Motor Speedway had the doubleheader on Saturday. So
that was fun.
It's always fun. That's a blast to have Xfinity, then trucks, which is cool to have. That order I like a lot.
I do too. The trucks just put on such a good race. I mean, people are going to, coming out of that truck race with Chris Bell, winning everything.
Yeah.
People are going to feel a certain kind of way about that. But that is super rare for trucks to go that way.
Yeah.
Usually it's pretty wild and willy.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it was competitive. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Xfinity race, competitive, fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, competitive, fun, enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think that doubleheader strategy for NASCAR is really good. I think it gives a ton of value to that ticket that maybe was missing before.
Maybe so, and it gives folks who maybe are just trying to get into the sport, I think maybe okay, well, here's a good taste of it if you want to watch the Xfinity, or if you want to come later for the trucks, or if you want to see both of it. Like, you got options there all on the same day.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I don't think NASCAR does a strong enough job in their marketing efforts is saying, look, come to these races that aren't as expensive and aren't as long.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing you need to do. You need to rent a scanner and a headset so that you can hear what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we'll show you how to use it. If you don't care what driver, maybe you've heard of a driver, you want to listen to their radio, or maybe you just want to listen to MRN or PRN,
mm-hmm.
or maybe you just the TV broadcast. I think that's typically an option in all those races. Like, I don't think NASCAR does enough job. Like, they do a really good job of offering a lot of exposure to fans that are aware, but you're aware on your own. You learn. Awareness is about being around the sport.
True.
I don't
you
think
see other people with it.
I don't think they market enough these other options you have, and they're not expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I rented a two-way headset for the entire weekend for $27.
And that's the thing. We were both looking at it because, mine's getting old, and there's a few little pieces to it that are a little, wonky or whatever. And Sherwin's renting it for $27, but you can buy the thing for $200. And so it's like, well, that's 10 weekends worth. That's like, for us, 3 years probably.
Yeah, it's 3 years.
And so it
ain't
ain't even
2 years if we hit it this hard next year, like we're going to hit it this year.
So is it even worth that? We'll probably break one before then. So it's almost worth just renting every time.
Yeah, I mean, ours held up really well.
Mm-hmm.
The downturn of the sport as a whole caused some of those companies to either exit or probably just sold their capital, whatever their value was. But it's such a useful tool. Like, there was all this. I mean, I guess we're going to get into. I don't know if did you talk about the noise stuff?
Yep.
Okay, we'll wait till then.
In a bit. We'll talk about the Cup race. What do you think? Was it boring or was it good? Bad race, good race.
I can't. So I have so much bias and so much experience watching a Cup race at Atlanta that even the parts that some would consider to be boring, I don't hold them to be boring.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm watching a Cup race at Atlanta. This feels like home. You see the leader's not holding anybody up at Atlanta. That's what's so cool.
Well, that's true.
If you're faster than the leader, you're getting around him.
That's a good point.
And that's one of the things that trumps the 200 laps of green that have a potential. Well, not anymore because we have the stages. Yep. Most you could have was 185, but that just or 160. Excuse me. But it just just being at home, being at the home track, trumps a lot of what could potentially be boring. And the reality is, we're sitting in the stands. We're having a cold beer. Maybe we're going to get something to eat. Maybe we're not. When you get bored, you just reach over on your headset and you key in and you start talking.
Yeah, you start talking, or you're listening.
And we can have a conversation.
One of the things watching the whole time. So I get that it was, and I even tweeted out at one point. I'm like, so who's ready for that repave at Atlanta? Huh? Everybody's screaming and yelling about it.
Tweet.
But it's like, well, maybe. Anything could be more maybe competitive up front. Anything would be more competitive up front than what we had. But that said, we watched our driver go from garbage to finished fourth. Like, holy crap.
He was still a lap down in the second stage.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. He got his lap back sometime after the second stage.
Yeah, he got one lap. He got his lap back the first time because of, how about this in the stage racing, huh? Kevin Harvick staying behind Danica Patrick in that first stage.
Right. He knew he was going to win, cool. And he didn't want to lap his teammate. And so we talk about those weird things that happen in open wheel series that people start getting pissed about team rules. But it was like, well, this was a fine strategy for the 4. It was like, I'm so far ahead of second, I don't have to pass the 10 to lose my position. If I don't have to pass the 10, why would I lap her?
Yeah. Do you think that falls against the 100% rule, Drink?
No, because I think it's spot on for 100% team strategy.
I think also, if you
y'all going to drink, right? 100%.
Yeah. And how could you How could you say you weren't going 100%? And he's like, well, when I caught up to her, I was in first place. When we were done with the stage, I was in first place. What more do you want? What's
How
more
would you
than
like
100%?
to measure 100%?
Yeah.
I got 100% of the points.
Yeah. I got 100% of first place. What do you want?
Do you see this ring I'm wearing on my middle finger?
Yeah. So watching and by the way, Casey was the lucky dog, the free pass in that.
Right, we were cheering.
So we were all happy.
You were hitting me. I was hitting you. We're like, Harvick's deliberately not passing Danica. We're like keying in. Hey, man, he could have passed her 3 laps ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so there was that. And then, of course, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, Kevin Harvick at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I was adding up. He's led like 700 laps in the last 4 years or something ridiculous.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
He's led the most, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah. And he hadn't won a race there since 01, 03, what was it?
He has the only win, which was the first race after Dale Earnhardt passed and he got in his car.
Yeah,
that's the famous 3-finger race.
Uh-huh.
He beat Jeff Gordon by like 3 fingers.
Mm-hmm. So, but Brad gets a win after Harvick, messes up, and he's so known for yelling at his team on pit road, and then he's the one who sped, like, kind of, got to eat your alphabet soup there, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, there was some chatter about that on other stuff that we've listened to this week. That does the pit crew give him an earful when that stuff happens? And I think the general sentiment is nobody that keys up that mic other than the crew chief makes nearly enough money to be yelling at the driver.
Well, right.
When they screw up. So no,
well, I'll tell you this: the driver knows. He knows.
He knows.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe that gives him some perspective, like, well, I messed up this time, and if this guy messes up one other time or whatever, I don't know.
Well,
but
and what we don't...
It's also all in the heat of the moment. That's something we always talk about with the drivers on the radios. I've cussed you out like you don't even know driving go-karts around,
Oh, hell yeah.
We get out of the cars, and then we're like, that was so awesome. So
right, we've talked about it a couple of times. The hardest car wreck I've ever been into was because Rusty blasted me at Victory Lane karting in Charlotte. I was never mad at you.
Corner.
Well, I got loose. Somebody set my car up too crappy. No, or maybe I ran out of talent, which, however it is you want to look at it. But I was never mad at you for a minute. But damn, that hurt. Mm-hmm. That sucked. I think that was the closest I ever came to a concussion.
That's a good point. And same for me. I was head on. You were T-bone. That was crazy. But back to the story. Brad takes advantage of all that. He was kind of second the whole time. I'll tell you what, though. Goosebumps I just got.
There it goes.
Just got goosebumps thinking about that last. And now I got goosebumps on top of those.
On top of goosebumps.
Yeah. Thinking about standing up. You're at Atlanta. You're at Chase Elliott's track. And he has run second all day to Kevin Harvick, and now Harvick's out. What's going to happen? The energy in the crowd, and the crowd was really good, real good compared to last few years. I was very proud of what it looked like, how it felt in there, but the vibe in this place was the home team vibe, and even though Chase didn't get it, he ended up maybe 7th or so. But just that anticipation, that stuff, that's what I want out of NASCAR, and I got it at the end of that race.
Oh, it was the feeling, the momentum, the whatever you want to call it, the mo, just the mo of that moment. And I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast or not. I talked to you about it, that the radio guys in Atlanta, 680 The Fan, they talked about my 2 favorite subjects at the same time, and it was ultimately sobering for me because it was a sort of a negative correlation that what they were talking about was Atlanta United soccer was going to potentially have more fans at a soccer game in Bobby Dodd at Georgia Tech than NASCAR was going to have at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I think between the weather and the walk-ups and the product that we had, I think that was sort of quelled. I don't think nobody's talking about that.
No,
despite the fact that Atlanta United did sell out their soccer game, I think we had somewhere between 60 and 70,000 people.
I was going to say it was 70 there.
Yeah, it looked good. The crowd looked good.
Yeah, I was very happy with that.
And they were active. Mm-hmm. They did not leave early.
No,
they were there, and I think that speaks to maybe it's just local. Maybe it'll only be at Atlanta for Chase. But I mean, I've said people have asked me, if Dale Jr. retires next year, is this sport over? And I'm like, nope, not if Chase wins a couple races this year. They'll never skip a beat.
And I think he's revived in a way. He's helped revive Atlanta Motor Speedway now. Because he is competitive, and he's going to win a race there. And when he does, boy, the party. I
just hate. I mean, obviously we hate it that the fact we don't have 2 races anymore. And I definitely want to throw some love, to our New England friends. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I hate that he only has 1 shot a year because, I think he's very close. He's very close.
Yep.
And I would have loved for it to be Atlanta. Hate that he. Did you see they got a penalty in that 23 truck?
Yeah.
They screwed up a little bit.
Oh, well.
They didn't quite have it. But that's actually the cool thing about a guy like Chase or whoever else going and driving for a team that isn't like. I mean, not throwing shade at Kyle Busch Motorsports, but it wasn't like Hendrick doesn't always run a truck. They ran one a little bit for Custer, and actually it was JRM that ran that truck, Junior Motorsports. So, but he got in a truck for a team that is competitive, but they're not Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Yeah.
So it's like you knew he would have to show out to win.
Right. So a few more shout-outs. I think we had not only one of the best crowds in a long time. Hey, the PETM posse had their own tailgate, buddy. How about that?
Yeah, we did.
How about that? Not only Jeffrey Whitler, Miss Lori came and saw us.
Kristen Schneider.
Kristen was there, and her boyfriend.
The Catch Fence.
The Catch Fence. So they were all there hanging out with us, having a blast. And your parents came down.
My parents came in. Our friend Claire and her work companion
and
Michael.
He was real cool, too, by the way. Same sort of thing with Jeffrey Whitler. Just sort of cool, chill, sit back, jump in the stories every once in a while, laugh, having fun.
Smart enough to be funny and interject every now and again.
Yeah, so we had 10 or 12 people at the PTM Posse tailgate. And I was beside myself happy that we had that many people because how long has it been me and you at Atlanta? 5 or 6 years now? 4 or 5?
Oh, goodness. Just the 2 of us, yeah, for sure. And my parents came that one time, the last time we were on the lake like we were before.
3 years ago.
The very last Labor Day race.
Yeah.
And that was fun, but it was still just the 4 of us.
Yeah.
I think Waylon might have come on the Saturday.
Like a Saturday or something. So.
But yeah, just to have a group, that was awesome.
It was so much fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Moving on. You've already talked about both of these stories, but let's get into them. Vegas gets a Loudon race, dude, for next year.
Wow. So we talked in length, I think, and I don't know how much we talked about on the podcast, but we're creating this bucket list for us. Mm-hmm. We know that we've basically gone to all the tracks that are reasonable to drive to. We're going to fly to Eldora. Mm-hmm. You can't fly to Eldora, but we're flying.
Yeah, to get most of the way
just
there.
Because it makes the most sense to do that in terms of taking days off and this, that, and the other thing and whatnot. So Loudon was way up our list up until about 2.5, 3 years ago. Yep. All of a sudden, the stuff NASCAR was doing to the cars made Loudon start to be boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just not, golly, this track I used to love, the Magic Mile, and then New England, going up there, September was going to be a tough option for us anyway because we're season ticket college football fans. But going there in June, oh crap, 70 degrees?
Oh man,
get
me out of Atlanta.
55 camp. This is the perfect camping weather.
Yeah,
and there's other cool stuff to do. We could fly into Boston and hit breweries and then rent a car and drive over to Manchester, and or you can fly into Manchester. So it's disappointing in a lot of ways to see them lose one of their races to Las Vegas, but it's not a shocker because the last 2 or 3 years there's been nobody at that race.
Mm-hmm. And Ryan McGee, did you read his article? And
Probably.
he was saying he was just kind of doing this full circle on Bill France Jr. Saying, we follow the money, son. And
that's right.
And,
I read that one.
It was a good article, a real good article. I mean, Classic McGee, awesome. Doing a full circle, tying the whole thing to a story. But he was saying that Vegas is talking about throwing $2.5 million at this race, and it's like, ain't nobody else out there throwing $2.5 million at this race. You know what I mean?
Yep.
At any race,
like you can't argue with that. When so money is so important right now, and if SMI and Las Vegas Motor Speedway have figured out some way to create a higher value product, then that's what they're going to do.
Yep.
Because
and we've seen this coming for a while. We knew Vegas was probably going to get a second race. We didn't know where it was going to come from necessarily. But, money talks.
Money talks and bullspit walks.
Yeah. And on the heels of that, talking about Charlotte taking a road course? Holy crap on a PETA.
Boy, I have a hard time getting aligned with this.
Oh?
And it's not because I think the Charlotte Oval is so awesome. I think my issue is with we want a road course in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
A flat roval is not it.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And now we would struggle a little bit with where we would go. Like, so Charlotte's normal date is the second weekend in October. A lot of places that's really cold, maybe even talking snow kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ovals that we would want are the road courses that we would want to go to. Watkins Glen and Sonoma, they have a place in the Cup Series schedule because they are well-respected and well-desired races, particularly now. Where would we go? Would we go do the F1 track in Austin, Texas? That's an option weather-wise.
Mexico?
Mexico is going to always.
I know there's logistic nightmares with that, but hey, I'm just talking about fandom and whatnot.
The visas is always going to be a challenge for Cup because you have to be there. You have to run the race, which means if it rain, well, it's not going to rain in Mexico City.
Well, there's that.
Never mind. So that could be a possibility, but I don't know. I'm not excited about the Roval.
Good points. I didn't think about that. Other than I like the idea of shaking it up. That means they're willing to shake it up a little bit, and that's where I think, if they, NASCAR, if they do something and suddenly it succeeds, now they're going to do more of it, or they're going to, work it harder or something. I don't know. I'm looking forward to.
I like that they're willing
to shaking it up.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm all in on that.
Drink.
Yeah, drink. 100%. I'm glad they're thinking about stuff.
Yeah,
and they've mentioned they were talking about that. Homestead might not be the final race every year. Mm-hmm. And getting Vegas into the fold kind of tells us that. Because we know they want to go Vegas for the races. Boom. Next weekend we're having all the championship events.
Yep.
And everybody's there the whole time. No big deal. You do like trucks on Tuesday night, Xfinity on Thursday night, and you do Cup on Friday night. And you make a whole week of it. And you keep all the TV people there, all the NASCAR people there. It makes a lot of sense that at some point Vegas is going to be the finale race.
Right.
The question I have is, so if you got Vegas rotating in, Homestead potentially rotating out, what's the other rotation? Are we going to eventually have a finale at Phoenix, which isn't terribly far from Vegas, or Texas?
I don't know. Good question.
It'll be interesting to see. We don't, like I said, I've said this many times in the last 2 weeks. Don't anticipate, just participate.
Hey, if they want to
enjoy it for what it is,
they want to be more like stick and ball. Change it up every year.
Every year,
Super Bowl and the baseball All-Star game at least.
Well, that Super Bowl is a great example because we always talk about how potentially there's a team good enough that they might actually get to host the Super Bowl without hosting the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened in 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other big news this week, and I find it interesting from my perspective at least, that this came right after the Atlanta race, is seemingly out of nowhere, just talking about adjusting the volume levels of the cars such that it's a little bit easier to talk in the stands and not so bad on the hearing and all that stuff. Here's what's funny. This came out after we got back from the race, after I had put all my stuff up and I was listening to music and stuff, and then I go and I take a shower, and then I get out of the shower and stuff, and I'm finally completely settled. And I went and I think I sat down right here in the PETM podcast studio with my laptop, and it was the first time I'd had silence the whole weekend all the way up, and this was Monday afternoon. I'm sitting here, and all I can hear is in my ears, and this was with ear protection the whole time, all that stuff. And we've got good ear protection to where we can talk at this level right here to each other over our microphones, But still, I had that, and so it's funny how I was thinking, and then I pull up pretty much right then, NASCAR looking to adjust volume levels, and I'm like, I would be diehard against this, except my ears are ringing right now over 24 hours after that last race started, and I don't know what to say. I don't know where to go with it. I get these, we call it on the podcast, loud cars going fast,
Fast cars going loud.
Fast cars going loud. That's what it is. That's what you say.
Yeah. Everybody else says loud cars going fast.
Yeah. Fast cars going loud. So I don't know what to say here. I don't know. Generators are just loud.
Some of those generators are loud as crap.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is I wore ear protection, and I was as protected as anything else, and as soon as I get back, it's, I'm hearing that for several hours up, throughout the rest of Monday, and then, into Tuesday. And I'm not saying they should. If they say, never mind, I'm not going to be like, oh, darn, they should have done something about it. I thought it was random that they brought it up, and I don't know where I stand on it. I guess I'm just stating facts here. If it didn't happen, then whatever. If it does happen, whatever, I guess.
No, so what I'll add to that is I don't have that problem. Mm-hmm. However, I have spent a lot more time. Let's call it exponential because you haven't spent any time. My employment career has involved environments where earplugs were required or potentially not required, but should have been required for, I don't know, let's call it four of the 8, 9, 10 years that I've been employed, like career-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a great chance that the reason why my ears don't ring is I don't have that hearing level anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you this, though. I will say this. The fact that when all 40 cars restart and go by the first 5 or 6 laps, we can't talk when they all go down the front stretch together.
That's a good point.
It's loud as hell.
Yeah, it's loud. Yeah. I don't know what the right answer is there. I'm not going to be PO'd one way or the other. It's not, and y'all, it's not like we're talking about they're going to switch them to electric vehicle. It's not like EV going on at that point. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to be just whoosh, 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 whoosh. It's lower than some.
My thought was, it's like, look, and I actually, so as he is wont to do, the orange cone will store up a gigantic pile of crap, mostly with a lot of dum-dums. But he's not wrong in that if we could take NASCAR from 107 decibels to 97 decibels, I don't know that.
And the way decibels work, I mean, that's like an order of magnitude.
That's 3 orders of magnitude.
3 orders of magnitude. Yep. Okay, there you go.
Yep. Every 3. It's not like the Richter scale.
I thought it was every 10 for some reason, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know until this week and I read about it. It's every 3. Every 3 decibels is an order of magnitude of pressure on your eardrum.
Okay. Huh.
So, I mean, and then we talk about, everybody, a lot of people that like NASCAR love rock music or hard rock or metal.
Well, you know me, I go to a ton of shows.
Yeah, and I go to more than I do.
I've been starting to think about wearing earplugs during music shows, which is kind of weird. Like you're supposed to hear the music, but doggone.
So why don't I just say this live on the podcast right now? I bought 4 tickets to Cody Jinks, hoping that I could convince 3 other people to go with me because they had a package deal. And I was seriously considering, I'm like, I wonder, maybe I'll just wear earplugs. I mean, that's a small venue. I'm going to be able to hear. Like, I wear earplugs in facilities all the time. I wear them at NASCAR stuff, and it's like you can hear people talk. It's just like the piercing sounds don't get in.
Well, and then it gets older and older. I've talked to you about like when my parents come over and like my dad's
your
watching
dad's
TV.
Got the volume on.
Holy crap!
Mach 3.
My receiver and rest its soul. I believe it's dead now, but my receiver doesn't go. When I'm listening to it, it never goes above 30, and that's when I'm just blasting music and blasting something. And they come over, and it's on 42 when they're like I'm up here.
TV.
I'm up here in the PETM podcast studio, just like hanging out, and I hear downstairs I'm like, they gonna blow my speakers out. This is nuts. So yeah, I don't know.
These fools are gonna blow my.
I don't know.
Watching the TV.
Watching the TV. All right, dude. Time to gas it up. You ready?
Gas her on up.
Gas it up. Here it comes. Hello. So there it was. Going to Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Vegas.
Woo!
Redneck noise.
Yep.
What I think about Vegas right now, the way the cars are going, I think we're going to see a good race.
Yep.
I think we have the potential to see something similar to what we saw last week, which, I mean, obviously we're biased because we're sitting in the stands at our home track, but I think we're going to see that the fastest car is going to be able to get to the front.
Yeah.
And isn't that what we want in NASCAR?
It is.
I think
that's
so.
Good. That's a good way to put it. I like that. I like that. I don't necessarily like that there's 10 cars on the lead lap sometimes, but that's the reality of the situation when you have what you're talking about.
I think we're going to be
I
think we're going to be just a tick slower, at Vegas that we're going to see 20 cars be able to stay on a lead lap for a lot longer period of time than at Atlanta.
I think Vegas also leads to a few more cautions, right? Normally than Atlanta, because I mean, Atlanta it feels like we always have those.
To see how they do the stages because it's a 400 miler.
Yeah.
So I think that means what we're doing like 60, 60, and 80 or whatever, however the math works. I didn't bother to do it ahead of time, and I'm not going to try to do it now. But we're going to see the stages be just a little bit shorter. What we're going to really see is, what I saw on today when I was watching practice is they did a caliper analysis of the track surface, and they have like a 1 to 5 scale, and you can see they basically showed a topography map of like red to green and like how much difference there is in Atlanta and Vegas. And Vegas is a much more uniform surface. So I think what we're going to see at Vegas is Goodyear is going to have to bring a tire that sustains a lot more heat.
Yep.
Which means it's going to be harder, which means we're not going to see guys peel off and pit at lap 33. We might see them try to run the full fuel window, which is 52 to 56, depending on how sneaky you are with your fuel mileage.
Sneaky.
Maybe we'll see them come off at 48 or whatever because of the stages to try to do some tricky stuff. But we're going to run longer on the same set of tires, and it's going to be a different kind of race. But it's still going to be a race where the fastest car is probably going to win unless they goof up.
Well, let's talk about what that fastest car is in terms of picks. And if I can get this guy up, here he is.
Driver, start your engine!
That's our guy. He's back again for another year.
That is our guy.
It's time to do picks. I believe. Who did I pick last week? I picked Chase. Chase got about 7th. Who'd you pick? Can't remember.
I picked Harvick. He finished 9th. You finished ahead of me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, it's hard to pick against the Bush Boys, man, at Vegas.
Okay.
And so I kind of want to. So I'm going
see where you're headed.
I'm going with Kyle Larson.
Okay.
It's just strong at the 1.5-mile lately. He's putting something together. It feels like he's putting together a story.
The High Line exists at Las Vegas.
He likes him a High Line. He likes him just slightly higher than the normal High Line, but he likes a High Line.
Yeah. So I'm glad that's the direction you chose.
Yep.
Because I saw some very interesting things this week in the Tweeterverse.
Okay.
And, NASCAR, a lot of interviews between drivers, crew chiefs, NASCAR personalities, guys on the mic, guys in the studio, on television, on the radio, have always called Kurt Busch a wheelman.
Everybody does. Oh, yeah.
I finally saw a stat that helps validate it.
Okay.
With the low downforce package that NASCAR is running this year and ran twice last year, Kurt Busch has the highest average start and the highest average finish.
Really?
So I'm going with hometown boy who has not won in Vegas yet in the Cup Series.
Oh, it's time, isn't it? It's time.
Monster Energy's own Kurt Busch.
Yeah. Roll that Monster Energy car across the Monster Energy finish line at the Monster Energy Cup, blah, 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 blah. I'm digging it. Great stuff. Good stuff. We've got one question. Ask PETM, Mr. Eric Kepner. Hey, Eric, thank you for being an official sponsor of the PETM podcast. He says, "What? Just pulling this full circle here. What's your gut feeling on Kyle Larson and his results when leading late? And second, is there a peak age or years of experience for a NASCAR driver?" Interesting question right there. What's your gut feeling on Kyle Larson and his results when leading late? Well, my gut feeling right now is that I just picked him, so I'm confident in him. He's still young enough and all that. I think he's got a lot of wins left in him if he continues at this pace right here. Second question, is there a peak age or years of experience for a NASCAR driver? I think that's a great question, by the way, because then we can start looking at what's going on right now with some of these folks. We know Chase is fixing to just bust out and go crazy. When we're talking about, look at Jimmy Johnson, though. He's in his 40s, and Junior in his 40s. I don't know if there's a peak right there. I think there's a plateau in terms of like early 20s. You can be as good in your early 20s as your early 40s. Once you start getting into mid 40s, that's probably about it. But I don't feel like there's like a peak and then go back down the other side of the mountain. I feel like there's a long plateau that can happen. Sherman?
Well, so I've done a lot of thinking about this.
Okay.
And what I actually got to speak with the person that asked this question today over beer. Mm-hmm. We talked about it. Actually, over beer last night, too. I don't drink beer very often, y'all.
Not much.
In case you didn't know. But what the conversation was about is, like, basically he's kind of committed to being a fan now. He's enjoyed our podcast so much. He's like, I'm going to watch the race, and the company that he works for sponsors the 42 car.
Okay.
And he asked me that question. I said, I'm not going to answer your question. I said, what I'm going to give you is a parallel dissertation, if you will, on another driver who had similar background and similar accolades coming into the sport and joined a similar team in terms of position in the sport. I said, so there's a guy that came along in 2004 driving for a team that had a win, but not really, had only just had one or two. And he showed up and he finished second 5 times. And he was from Sprint car driving, just like Larson is. Driving that open wheel dirt car that is so much different than a Cup car. And he finished second 5 times. And there was a lot of promise.
2 years later.
And then the next year, he finally fulfilled the promise by winning one race.
And then the
following year, his junior year, if you will.
Junior year.
Won 6 times.
Races. Yep.
And across those 3 years, amassed, 12 to 15 poles. And that driver was Casey Kane.
Sure.
And, after 2006, it hasn't been, the trajectory plateaued, like you talked about.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily age. It's also equipment related. I said, Kyle Larson fits in that same program. In his freshman year, rookie year, he showed a lot of promise. Showed the ability to produce speed, also showed the ability to knock a wall down.
True. Second
year, showed more speed, slightly more discipline, still knocking walls down. Got his one win, though. His breakthrough win. We're in his junior year.
It's time.
And he's fast.
Oh, yeah. It's time, buddy.
So I'm predicting 2 wins. I'm predicting 2 wins for Kyle Larson.
Okay. I like it. We're starting to wind down. Thank you for the question, Eric. But we have our Stranger Stang.
We
buddy.
actually have one more that I forgot to send you.
Forgot to send me.
Sorry.
Throw it in there.
Yeah, it did
Surprise.
not. Yep. This is a function of us being traveling and freaked out with work. So the question.
Bring it.
You say who you picked again?
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson. And I picked
Kurt Busch.
Okay, so it'll be very easy for me to answer at GoDucks42_Mick, Mr. Mick Rose.
What's up, Mick?
Constant contributor to what we're doing here. Thank you very much. His question is, will Ford make it 3 in a row in Vegas for Cup?
Good question. Good question.
I say yes. I picked a Ford.
Why not? I mean,
yeah.
There's nothing stopping him, right?
Well, if it's not Kurt, it could be Brad or Joey or Kevin.
Or any SHR.
Maybe Blaney has the breakthrough. So it's a great question from the perspective of, is Ford back? Answer is 100% yes. If you're asking, can Ford win the first 3 races of the season in Cup, Ford's back. And this is what we try to talk about the whole off season and all of last year, talking about what SHR would mean to Ford. This is what it means to Ford. Ford's won the first 2 races of the year. They haven't done that since Kenseth did it in 2009.
Yep.
And he did it for Roush.
Yep.
And one of those was a freaking rain out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm picking Chevy, but that's not to say will Ford make it. They have just as good a chance as anybody. So I wouldn't be surprised.
They'll have a great chance.
I guess the point.
The fact that we're discussing it, the fact that it's a question that a listener would actually pose and have it be a legitimate type question, the reason, they're so positive, the reasons that we're talking about that. That's to be able to talk about that is so good for Ford.
Yep. Well, dude, can you believe it's been an hour?
No.
I can't either.
It felt like 20 minutes.
I know, doesn't it?
But I felt like we had more stuff to talk about. We're going to have to save it for next week. I reckon.
Well, we've got Stranger Stang. Let's do it.
Yeah, we do have Strange.
Ashley J. Stang sends us this one. True story. A guy robbed a bank so that he could be put in jail to get away from his wife. Now, I don't know where this was or what it was, but apparently true story. Seriously, that was his reason. Do you think a person could actually be driven that crazy, or do you think he just made up the reason to not get in as much trouble? She's calling BS on him. What do you think, Sherwin? BS?
Grab your glasses, folks. This is 100%.
Bullspit, or?
No, it's not bullspit at all. A woman could absolutely drive a man so crazy he would commit a felony to get away from her. And that not be hitting her in the face, which we do not condone here at the PETM podcast. No, I actually posed this question today at the happy hour.
Okay.
And I was told a story about how a friend
I don't blame him.
had gone to jail for some particular reason or another, did not even attempt to get out of jail, took a weekend off.
That was his just
nobody in my ear for a weekend. I'm good. I got 3 squares and a cot. Nobody talking crap to me. So I'm behind this guy 100%.
Oh man, I love it. Very fortunately, or whatever you want to call it, my relationship with my wife is not one that we ever want to There are times, though, because I travel a lot and she travels some, and we have our different stuff. So if we're together for like we'll say 4 weeks in a row, we're kind of staring at each other going, what are you still doing here?
Yeah. Why don't you go the hell somewhere else?
Aren't you? She'll be like, don't you want to go stay at Sherwin's house for a little bit? Or don't you have a work trip coming up or something? We're not getting in each other's hair. It's just one of those all right, this is weird. We've been hanging out too long.
It's been fun hanging out. Can you go somewhere else for a little while?
Yeah, exactly. I want to invite my friends over and do stuff I don't want to tell you about.
Yeah, right. We're not going to talk. You need to leave.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if he'd been with her for 5 weeks, then maybe that's the case. I don't. And I'll tell you this much. How long do you think she was from committing some crime to go to jail to get away from him?
It had to have been similar.
Oh, yeah.
Had to have been
she was probably out robbing a bank. She didn't get caught or something, so she's got the money now. So good on him, good on her.
So one thing before you start bringing the music up.
Yeah.
Did you see earlier we had a comment that we may have reached a milestone with the Patreon? Did you check your email?
I haven't.
Check it real quick because I think we may have reached a milestone.
Okay, let's look.
Based on what I saw,
We're looking.
Present evidence suggests.
Y'all, it'd be unbelievable. Holy bejesus.
Yep.
Told you. Y'all are unbelievable. We're at $115 a month, y'all. Hey, the Patreon thing. I know the first payment has gone in. We're looking at that. I'm thinking we'll send it out to folks, dude. But what do you think? Jordan Anderson's getting back in his thing. He's doing the $500 thing to get a big old sticker on there on his truck. What do y'all think about PETM Posse being on there? It'd be like 3 months worth of this thing. We'll send it out to everybody, see what they think. Of course, we got Kenny Smith we're sponsoring and all that. I think that would be amazing. What do you think, Sherman?
I think it would too. I think obviously we want some buy-in from y'all, everybody that's listening and participating in this, which we're so proud and humbled at the same time.
Absolutely humbled. Thank you very much.
We want some input though. So like
Catherine Kingston,
one of the things
jumped on board. Thank you, Kathy.
One of the things we would want to do is figure out, okay, so where are we going to allocate this? Because now we've already received one credit or debit. I'm not even sure how you say it.
Credit. Yep.
We've 1 month where some money's rolled in. We've taken possession of some of y'all's money, and we want to know how to spend it.
Oh yeah,
and we want to spend it to help. We want to spend it to help somebody who rocks go fast.
Yep.
And that's what we're here to do.
That's what we're here to do. Let's start closing this out. Thank you so much, everybody. That it's so cool to see this thing actually working, and we're absolutely going to be sending out soon all the money and everything, and so excited about that. Anyway, and we've got stickers to send out. We've got the koozies still to send out. We're going to be doing that very shortly.
We're going to have 2 different stickers. We're going to have the generic, not the generic. That's a stupid word.
No.
We're going to have the destination sticker.
And we're going to have,
hey, I'm in the PETM Posse. And then we're going to have our sponsorship sticker that's going to be hashtag PETM Posse.
All
really
right.
aggressive like.
I want to welcome the new patrons as well. Not to forget you, Mark Wiley, Colby McClam. Colby, thank you for joining. Suzette McGuire, she's been around forever. Harrison Orr, thank y'all so much for joining the PETM Posse. Y'all are listening to Sydney Lett right there. Y'all know where to find us, patreon.com/PETM. Y'all can follow us on Twitter at PETM Podcast. And as always, on Tailgate Mayor, Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
And I am pregame engineer at pregame ENG.
And we're going to talk to y'all next week.
We are NASCAR and thumbs up.
We are NASCAR, we are NASCAR.
Whitler wants a book. Finish reading that thing and send it to him.